This is the Uptick Network Stock Day Podcast, sponsored by InvestorsHangout.com. Penny stock news and interviews from the microcap world. Public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. With your host, Everett Jolly.
On today's show, we have a very exciting guest with us. There's been a lot of talk about his company, and I asked him to come on the show to straighten things out. I think he's doing a great job. The name of the company is Bulova Technologies Group. The CEO is Stephen Gurba. He is the CEO of the company, and they trade on the OTC pink sheets under BTGI. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Everett.
You know, there's been a lot of talk about your company, and I asked you to come on the show to kind of sort things out because, you know, people can just run rampant and not have a clue what they want to talk about. So I want to go straight to the horse's mouth. And you guys have done a lot of acquisitions in the last 6 to 9 months. And so bring us up to date on the BTI end of the year here. I think your year just ended here at the end of September, and you can take it from there.
Okay, Eric, thank you. Yeah, for 2016, which is our ending September 30th, which we just closed out, our sales should be closing out somewhere in the 20 million range in revenues. We will show a loss, but the loss will be considerably less given that we made the acquisition in the transportation area mid-year. So our loss actually, we actually carved back into the loss to show less of a loss, and the sales should end up around 20, and that's versus a loss last year on only 1.7 million in sales. The other major increase, obviously, is our asset values on the books now are about $20 million versus right around $1 million
that's correct.
The previous year.
Absolutely.
And while our debt is high, it's important to note that 10.8 million of it is in a discontinued operation and will be written off at year end. And quite frankly, we're looking at some major restructuring during 2017, which I could talk about. But to overview our 2016 year, basically we have the 4 verticals. One is in healthcare, which we are looking right now at trying to put something together with another healthcare company to make a bigger and better healthcare company. We have the software business, Bulova Technologies, Compliance and Security, which again, we only own 30% of, but we are looking at merging that with another firm and potentially doing some sort of a stock swap, what have you, where we could maximize our sales and profits out of that entity also. Those 2 areas for us are startups and clearly areas for tremendous upside. The downside is not really of any magnitude because our investment is minimal in both companies. In both cases, our partners have spent the bulk of the money to develop and get the product line where it is today. Our Bulova Technologies Europe group does commercial sales for ammunition. We bring in ammo from overseas, and that's usually around $1 million a year and will continue at that level. Our Bulova Technologies Machinery Group, the 3rd vertical, if you will, we just finished a show up at Chicago, the International Machine Tool Show, where we had 9 machines under power. We had a 5,000 square foot booth. We had over 2,000 people come through the booth during the week, and we think that sales coming out of there over the next 4 weeks will generate over $1 million in sales from that show alone. We're looking at an acquisition potentially here in the machine tool area in 2017, which I can talk about in the 2017 discussion. But clearly we want to grow the machine tool area as we're now into that about 3 years. And the major acquisition we made back in the end of January, beginning of February, was BT Twist Transport, which is 3 entities. One has trucks and trailers, one has a logistics group, and one has a cold storage area. And these 3 entities combined, we now put under a company called BT Twist Transport, which we own 30%, but we have the opportunity to buy back up to the 100% level over the next 4 years by by merely reducing the debt and removing our partner off of the personal guarantees of the debt, of which I am also a personal guarantor.
And what kind of revenues? What kind of revenues is that company going to be generating in 2017, roughly?
In 2017, those three entities will do at least 30 million in sales, probably closer to 35, and will be profitable.
You know, the reason why I asked you that, your market cap is currently just a little bit north of 600,000 or around 600,000. And, you know, in 2015, in December, that quarter, you guys did 413,000 in revenue. March of 2016, you guys' revenue went to 4.9 million. And then the end of June, you went to 6.8 million. I know you guys are growing the top part of your revenue. How's it going to look for 2017 for the bottom growth?
Well, in 2017, some of the major changes that we're looking at trying to achieve is we want to reduce our debt, obviously, and in reducing that debt, it'll reduce interest payments, which adds to our profit line. One of the first things we're looking at is converting a lot of the insider shareholder debt holders that are involved, which there are three. We are looking to try to put a preferred share in place for them, which would allow us to drop their debt to equity. Our goal during 2017 is to only have bank debt by the end of the 2017 fiscal year. And all of our bank debt is with Sunshine Bank here in Tampa, Florida, who assisted me with the acquisition by loaning us about $6.5 million. And most recently, we did an announcement the other day here. We financed out our entire fleet of trucks and trailers, which did two things. Number one, it reduced our interest payments with the trucking loans we had by almost $500,000 a year. And it gave us an additional $1 million in cash flow as the loan exceeded the cash needed to pay off the trucks and trailers that we had loans for. So we increased our cash flow by about $1 million, and we reduced our debt in payments for 2017 by about $500,000. That, combined with converting some of our key debt holders into preferred shares, will greatly reduce the debt load on the company. Today, you look at it and there's about 40 million. I think if we are successful by the end of 2017, we're looking to have that debt load be somewhere in the $14 million range, all bank debt. And keep in mind that's without any further acquisitions. And we are looking at growing primarily the transportation and machine tool area through acquisition.
My guest today is Stephen Gurba. He is the CEO of Bulova Technologies Group. Well, they trade on the OTC Peak Sheets. Their ticker symbol is BTGI. I do want to give a disclaimer. I own 550,000 shares that I bought in the open market the last 6 months of this company. Stephen, going forward here, tell us a little bit about Global Frozen Trucking acquisition. That sounds like a really exciting acquisition. And and correct me if I'm wrong, I think you guys own 100% of that.
Yes, we just completed that acquisition over the last few weeks here. We did that with cash, not stock, and that was cash out of our bank. And that will add about $5 million in sales to our 2017 numbers. 2017, as you look at the four verticals that we mentioned, we're looking at a minimum of about 35 million in sales, maybe as much as 40 without any further acquisition.
Right.
And we will be profitable at the bottom line. That, combined with hopefully reducing the debt, is a significant change from 2015 and 16. And we hope that that will allow us to position ourselves to come off of the pink sheets and move up to a larger board, which is our goal here. We have about 343 million shares that are outstanding. We have 500 million common shares approved. We've had dilution over the last 2-3 months, primarily reducing debt. And so while the stock has been diluted, we've also reduced a considerable amount of debt. We really only have one other debt holder at the moment that has some conversion that's going on, and that should end shortly. Maybe as much as another 15 million shares or so. But the reality of it is whether or not the stock is trading for 0.2 of a penny or a nickel right now. The goal is really to move up onto another board and have a significant value to the stock and get off of the pink sheets.
You know, recently you guys had a press release about refinancing your trucks and your trailer fleets. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just lends to the credibility of the company and where we're going. You know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we could not get bank financing at all, and we were depending on some what I would call more toxic debt that we've been eliminating now. But having the banks come in now and get involved with us, we're able to secure debt at 4 to 5.5% interest rates, long-term debt, and in doing so, this recent refinance of the trucks and trailers, not only did it reduce our interest cost over the year, not only did it produce additional cash, we have availability in the line to buy new trucks and trailers and replace our older ones. Typically, we replace a truck every 3, maybe 4 years max,
right?
And or when it reaches 350,000 miles. So having the availability in a bank line makes it much more, it's much easier to keep our fleet fresh and reliable, and reduce and keep the maintenance costs way down.
My guest today has been Stephen Gurba. He is the CEO of Bulova Technologies Group. They trade on the OTC pink sheets under the ticker symbol BTGI. In closing here, Stephen, is there anything that you and I didn't get a chance to talk about that you would like to get out to your listeners?
Well, again, Everett, as I said, I think the general public, our shareholders, debt holders need to look significantly at the changes that are occurring in the company and hopefully grow with us.
Absolutely.
There's been a tremendous amount of day trading going on. Our average volume is out of sight, and people need to realize, I think, that the day-to-day selling of this isn't really where the long term of the company is going. The long term of the company is to come off of these pink sheets, move up a notch, and be a much more stable and solid stock going forward.
Stephen Gurba has been our guest today. I appreciate you coming on the show. We're going to check back with you in a couple of months, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks very much, Everett, and we'll see you later.